All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we are unpacking a highly complex, seriously multi-layered source text from the Happy Science teachings. Now, what makes this material so incredibly unique is its sheer scope. I mean, we're going to track a philosophical journey that starts at the absolute micro level, like how a government should treat a single human soul, and it scales all the way up to literal intergalactic theology. It is a massive, sweeping narrative, and I'm really excited to guide you through the structure of these ideas today. So let's dive in. Here is our roadmap for the explainer. We'll start with number 1, the foundations of a nation, then move into redefining true patriotism, expand out to establishing Earth Utopia, and finally wrap things up with the cosmic space age. Okay, section 1, foundations of a nation, the individual and the state. The text begins its philosophy right at the most grounded level, looking at the relationship between a single human soul and the governing state. Now, to really grasp this relationship, we first have to understand the core anchor of the text. The absolutely crucial point here is this concept, ame no miyagami. According to the source material, this is the supreme creator deity, the ultimate cosmic parent, essentially. And the text argues that any valid political system on Earth cannot just be some secular arrangement of laws. It absolutely must be rooted in faith toward this creator. If a government doesn't recognize a higher spiritual authority, well, the text claims it's already completely off track. The source draws a really stark contrast when it comes to human governance. On one side, you have what the text calls democracy under God. In this kind of system, the state exists for one primary reason, and that's to serve the individual's spiritual growth and earthly happiness. Leaders are literally defined as servants to the people. But then, on the flip side, we see totalitarianism, which the text heavily critiques. In a totalitarian state, that whole dynamic is completely inverted. The citizens basically become fuel for the machine. You know, their rights are restricted, and they're sacrificed just for the survival of the state itself. And the reason this matters to us is that the text is explicitly warning that without a spiritual compass, democracies can easily slide right into totalitarianism, consuming the very people they are meant to protect. Moving on to section 2, redefining true patriotism, a critique of nationalism. So, now that we understand the individual's relationship to the state, the text zooms out a bit to the macro scale of the nation itself. Interestingly, the source material directly critiques traditional Japanese nationalism, specifically traditional restorationist Shintoism. The text actually warns that looking backward to a purely ethnic, ancient religion risks fostering a really dangerous sense of ethnic superiority, basically the idea of Japan as the center of the world. The source even goes so far as to draw direct philosophical parallels between this kind of ethnic nationalism and how figures like Hitler utilized Germanic paganism, and it references the philosopher Heidegger in the process to make its point. The core argument here is that a purely ethnic religion just lacks the universal criteria needed to objectively judge global good and evil. It ultimately just leads to isolationism and fundamentally selfish national interests. So you might be wondering, if traditional nationalism is flawed, what exactly is the alternative? Well, the text offers a concept called Yamato Gokoro, which it redefines as true patriotism, and this is a massive paradigm shift. True patriotism, according to these teachings, is not defined by borders or exclusion or geopolitical dominance, not at all. Instead, it's framed as a spiritual responsibility. It's about polishing one's own soul and contributing to the global public good, all stemming from a really profound gratitude to that ultimate creator we mentioned earlier. So it transforms patriotism from a political weapon into the spiritual duty of service. All right, leaving the nation-state behind, the text zooms out even further to the entire globe. Section 3, establishing Earth Utopia, beyond borders. Obviously, to govern a globe, you need a global system. And the source text makes a really bold claim here. It states, and I quote, "The judgment of good and evil on a global level must transcend international organizations. There must be God's heart, or Buddha's intention." Essentially, the text is arguing that secular bodies, think the United Nations or the G20, are fundamentally insufficient for establishing true global justice. Because they operate on majorities and political compromises, they lack that divine perspective required to actually delineate right from wrong on a planetary scale. The ultimate earthly goal outlined in these teachings is the realization of what they call Earth Utopia. And this isn't just about ending wars. It's a highly specific global society where individual spiritual awakening is perfectly harmonized with universal peace and mutual prosperity. The foundational logic here is that international conflicts just cannot be solved purely by treaties or economics. They can only be permanently resolved when humanity adopts the correct, unified spiritual mindset. And finally, we reach the most expansive section of our explainer. Section 4, the cosmic space age, our galactic roots. We've scaled from the individual to the nation to the Earth, and now we look to the stars. 2.3 million. That is the distance in light years from Earth to the Andromeda galaxy. And according to the source material, this number is incredibly significant. The text claims that Andromeda is the true ancient origin point of Earth's creator deity, Amino Miyagami. So the teachings are proposing that humanity's spiritual roots aren't just ancient, they are fundamentally extraterrestrial. And the text doesn't just treat this as some distant, abstract metaphor. It presents this concept as a tangible, ongoing reality. The source material actually includes photographs, which it claims show Andromeda UFO fleets operating right now. The teachings explicitly connect our earthly salvation and the establishment of that Earth Utopia we just talked about to literal intergalactic intervention. Let's actually look closely at the sheer scale of the world building within this text, because the details provided are highly specific. The source describes an active Andromeda fleet protecting Earth right now. We're talking 200-meter-long motherships led by specific commanders, like someone named Commander Z. It outlines 35-meter support crafts whose specific mission is to eliminate negative interfering alien influences coming from other star systems. It even describes 10-meter patrol disks circling Tokyo at speeds of Mach 10, operated by a mix of humanoid extraterrestrials and androids. It is a remarkably detailed cosmic hierarchy that the text insists is directly overseeing our geopolitical and spiritual evolution. Which brings us to our final thought for today. We started with the very basic question of how a democracy should treat a single citizen, and we've ended up with intergalactic fleets battling for the spiritual soul of Earth. But the core theme remains exactly the same throughout the entire text. Governance requires a moral, spiritual anchor. So the question this material ultimately leaves us with is this. As humanity continues to evolve, as we eventually look past our own borders and out toward the stars, what will be the moral compass that guides us? What will ultimately define our cosmic justice? It's a really profound concept to wrap your head around, regardless of your own beliefs. Thank you so much for joining me today. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.